I was involved in a course called the Center for Sustainability Leadership, where we had a member of parliament come into the class and ask a room full of 25 young leaders, how many of you are members of a political party? And 0 hands went up. And then he said, how many of you have an issue that you want to see a politician address? And every single hand went up. And so we saw there was a gap between the places where we talk about the issues that matter to us most and the places where big decisions about those issues are made. And we thought, how do we bridge that gap? So I'm the CEO of OurSay.org, which is a technology organization that connects people directly with decision makers through a really fun gaming platform where you put up questions, you invite your friends to vote for your questions, and we make sure the top questions get answered. I myself got involved because I'm originally from overseas. I'm an international person myself. I thought, well, being in this country, I want to give something back and actually get involved in the things that are happening in Australia and in Melbourne. And so I thought, why don't we build something that allows people to put their issues up on a platform and get that issue addressed by a key decision maker.
How does the forum and voting system work on OurSay? What kind of topics are featured?
It's great. The website works in a way where anybody can think about an issue that they really care about. And once you think about an issue that you care about, you need to frame it as a question. And you go to the website and you sign up and then you put your question in. Once your question's up there, you can share your question on Facebook, on Twitter, on email, even taking it to a local pub or to a local, to the dormitory and putting it up and asking your friends to vote for your question. And all they have to do is sign in and vote for your question. As your question gets more and more votes, it bubbles to the top. And the questions that end up in the top spot when the timer runs out are the ones that get answered in a live event. So right now we've got the election on, and in the electorate of Melbourne we've had a range of different issues come up. Some of the top questions are about children and nature or about music education. We've also had questions about that international students are putting up around concessions, and why don't international students get concessions in this city.
Do you find that many students are involved? What are their general concerns?
Yeah, I think students are passionate about a number of issues. Students tend to be quite linked into the mainstream political debate, especially ones that are involved in a lot of the political science courses and those that are linked to public policy, journalism and media. They're actually quite concerned about their industry and what they can walk out of university and get into. So a lot of times you see the students asking questions around, where's the future of journalism? Where's the future of politics? Or I'm really disengaged from the political system. How is your party's policy going to change my perception or going to get me more involved? And so I think students find it as a great way to start thinking about what does this mean for their future, and what does asking questions to leaders who are there right now mean for them as they step into similar roles to the people that they're following.
Do you find that students usually stick to their own topics, like things that are related to them with transport, with universities, or do you think they would actually branch out into other topics that have to do with politics and economics?
We've had quite the mix. Some people, some international students have actually come in and asked questions about their own home countries, asking the Foreign Minister of Australia, what does he think about the elections in Malaysia recently? Or we've also launched in India recently, where we have questions coming in from the Indian diaspora in Australia, as well as Indians living in country, putting questions to people in Australia.
Is it actually hard to reach out to the politicians or get them involved?
At first it was. When we first got politicians onto the platform, they were quite skeptical and scared of what questions would come to the fore. Would we get crazy questions? Would we get people who are not aware of what the political issues of the day are? But after running this over the last 2.5 years, we've seen really, really good questions come up. In fact, questions that don't normally get onto the political agenda.
Do you feel that OurSay has made an impact or any influential changes so far that the people are seeking?
I think we're at the very early stages of cultural change. People talk a lot about this disconnect between what politicians and the media talk about and what citizens talk about. In fact, because of the way, because nowadays politicians and media are very much dependent on each other. Their business models are dependent. Politicians need to get messages out, and the media needs to uncover what's the muck between their toes that they need to reveal to the public. They need to find out what are the disjointed things that the public need to know about. And as politicians and media get closer and closer together, citizens have been further and further left out of the conversation. And so they actually go off on Facebook and Twitter and on their blogs, and they're messaging about things that maybe they're concerned about, but they're not getting back into the conversation between politicians and the media. And so the real shift here is bringing citizens back into the game. How do we get citizens driving the agenda and get politicians and the media responding to those issues? And so I think just putting them in the same room initially and doing that over the last couple of years, that's the real change that we're making here, is getting leaders, media, citizens together. When leaders, media, and citizens are involved, the best decisions are made.